Who can you trust on the defense for the Arizona Cardinals as the roster currently sits? There's not many, but there's a couple. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's Alex Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Listen, I know the defense with what we saw last year wasn't great. It wasn't perfect, but it was okay at times. And I promise there are, a couple guys who you can trust, a couple guys who you can bank on. And especially in February, when you're looking at this roster in a very different way because of, Nick Rallis is back, first-time offensive head coach. It's going to be Nick Rallis pretty much on his own. There's going to be some cap casualties, cuts-wise. There's going to be a lot of moving parts, but there are a couple pieces you can trust who will for sure be here, and we got to discuss them. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Place your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Trust Budda Baker. This is the only one. I almost didn't put him on the list, but you have to. I almost didn't put him on the list, but I'm like, listen, I know that tweet went out before the last home game of the year, and Budda Baker didn't qualify it with saying it's his last home game of the year. He said it's his last home game. So who knows what that means, but we'll put it on the back burner. Trust Budda Baker. Trust the hell out of Mack Wilson. Okay? Trust him. Trust him. You could have said that he was the MVP of the defense last year because when he went out, everything crumbled. And that's not even a knock on Cody Simon. I'll discuss that. But first, trust Josh Sweat. I'm, spoiler alert, going to be doing who you can't trust on defense tomorrow. And the first one is going to be you can't trust the pass rush. I already have it in my head. I already have the title card made. But that doesn't mean that you can't trust Josh Sweat. You can. Productivity-wise, had over 10 sacks last year. He was very efficient. Okay? He wasn't perfect. He wasn't Pro Bowl level. He's not a Pro Bowl guy. But to the Cardinals team, before he came over, he 100% was. He's got Super Bowl pedigree. He's been around a lot of winning defenses. Okay? The dude knows ball. The dude is a stud pro that the Cardinals have desperately needed. He's not, and he never was brought over to be this is going to be, the next TJ Watt for the Cardinals. This is going to be whatever, the next Nick Bosa for the Cardinals. I know that, obviously different body makeups, different, just like TJ Watt is like compact. He's shorter. Josh Sweat is tall. He's lanky. The dude can get to the quarterback. He's got great bend. He's a guy, when you look at the rest of the pass rush room, he laps them. So while foreshadowing, you can't trust the pass rush room, you can trust him. And when you look for an anchor in the pass rush room who isn't all pro level, and there are only a handful, Will Anderson, things like that, maybe a bad name to use, but Will Anderson, names like that, he just needs a running mate to elevate this pass rush to what could be an all pro level. That's how teamwork works. That's how defense works. It's not like offense. Sure, you have your best wide receiver who plays decoy on certain routes run to allow for a wide open crossing route for the wide receiver 2, the wide receiver 3, or the tight end, something like that. Or you put two running backs on the field and you give the ball to the up back instead of pitching it out to Christian McCaffrey, so you're leveraging talent to make your offense better. With defense, it's so much more of a team game. I always say it's based on trust and instinct. And while you can't trust much from the pass rush room, you can trust Josh Sweat. So this has longer lasting effects, because when you're talking about this offseason and you need to bolster the pass rush room, we're going to table the who you drafted 3 conversation. This is specifically for free agency, just for right now. You look at somebody who's like, listen, I could play alongside Josh Sweat. I could, take snaps from Baron Browning and Zayvon Collins, who may not be a Cardinal next year. I'm sure he will. whoever it may be, Bija Ojulari, Jordan Birch, who, listen, numbers-wise, wasn't terrible last year with pressure rate and stuff. Like, take what you want from that. But when you look at the pass rush room, not great. Now, when Walter Nolan comes back, obviously that'll be easier. It'll make it easier for the sheer edge rushers to get, when it's just them versus tackle, it'll be easier for them to get home because Walter Nolan is going to, he's going to demand and he's going to command attention from guards, which will allow pass rushers to go one-on-one and just speed rush past tackles. Like, it's going to make things easier. But you can trust Josh Sweat also as somebody who can be like, yo, come to the desert. I need a running mate. And that's something that the Cardinals really haven't had. That's the, what did I call it? That's the passive income that the Cardinals haven't had. They did a little bit after 2024. We saw the additions of Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell, Josh Sweat. 3, not marquee right now like Hall of Famers, but 3 big names who could have gone really anywhere. And they saw what was cooking in 2024, and they came here in 2025. I think, especially on the defensive side of the ball, free agents are going to see the defense led by Josh Sweat. And then look in the secondary and see with Walter Nolan and see with Will Johnson, like, oh, that 3-14, everybody was just hurt. There's money to be made. I know it's an impossible division, but sometimes defensive guys are maniacs. They're like, oh, yeah, let's go against the best. Let's go against the best, especially guys who have already made a whole bunch of money. It's like, this is my new challenge. 2-year, $20 million, sure. Let's rip. Line me opposite Josh Sweat, and we'll eat. That's why, like, putting into perspective is difficult because the Cardinals were 3-14 last year, and the defense gave up a 40 burger multiple times post-bye. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Just like I say, it wasn't Jacoby Brissett's fault that they lost those games. I will take him out of that. I'm taking Josh Sweat out too. I'm taking him out also. Again, remember how much he got paid. Okay? The exact numbers were not. He signed 4 years, $76 million with $41 million in total guarantees. Okay? $41 million total. That's $10 million guaranteed money a year. That is not even close to what Will Anderson's going to get, what TJ Watt's gotten. He's gotten over $100 million contracts multiple times. Like, Josh Sweat wasn't brought in to be the world beater. He was brought in to be himself, who is by far the best pass rusher the Cardinals have on the roster, which hopefully will rise all ships moving forward if they can add somebody like him this offseason. But you got to trust Josh Sweat. You got to trust Josh Sweat. Not much you can trust on the defense, but you got to trust Josh Sweat. Another guy you must trust, I'm not telling you what to do, what I think you must trust is Mack Wilson. Mack Wilson was probably the MVP of the defense if you want to think about it in that backwards kind of way. We'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. So this year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. And they handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get through every deduction. And you can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. So it makes it a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. You know the drill. Join the Everydayers Club. Members only Discord. Ad-free audio content. Sounds pretty sweet to me. Trust Mack Wilson. Now, this is a two-parter, okay? It's a two-parter. Mack Wilson is not going to light up the stat sheet. It's difficult for inside linebackers to do that. Unless you're Fred Warner or Bobby Wagner, just these maniacs, first ballot Hall of Famers. What Mack Wilson does is he executes his role excellently as the heartbeat of this defense. Now, that's not saying that just because you call the plays doesn't mean you're the most important person on defense, doesn't mean you're the heartbeat. He's the heart of this defense. And, visually speaking, he's in the middle of the defense. Heart, makes sense. You would technically say the heart would be the safety because the safety says the higher your body, doesn't matter. I'm not really an anatomy guy. That's stupid. Sorry. He was the MVP of the defense last year. You could 100% argue that. When he went down, got put on IR, everything fell apart. And it wasn't amazing the couple weeks before that. But when you look at guys you can trust, and sure, you got it graded on a curve because there's a bunch of guys on defense you can't really. Like ADG was okay, and then he kind of fell off a cliff towards the end. Max Melton didn't play. Denzel Burke didn't look great and then came on, and he made the all-rookie team. Will Johnson, injuries. Garrett Williams, injuries. Walter Nolan, injuries. Jalen Thompson, Dadrian Taylor-Emerson, injuries. Mack Wilson, injured too. But the biggest drop-off we saw was when Mack Wilson went down. And I know that other guys were down for the count at that point too, so it compounded it. But I'm trusting Mack Wilson moving forward. I want him to be a Cardinal for a long time. He's better than Kazir White was. He's quicker to the ball. He's got better closing speed. Doesn't maybe hit as hard. Kazir White was just an absolute mauler. But I think the biggest differentiator between the two is Mack Wilson is a great spot blitzer in the certain packages. He is. Like, this dude is somebody who he's 28, okay? Just turned. So he's still a pup. He's not 30. If they're not going to extend him this offseason, I would extend him. I don't want him going anywhere. And then this is why this is a two-parter. You bring in Cody Simon to be his relief in a couple years. Because when you say trust Mack Wilson, which I just did, so when I say trust Mack Wilson, there's an inlet where you kind of start to see where you can trust Cody Simon also. So this is going to turn into you can trust the off-ball backer position. Now, I know that Mack Wilson played behind, or Cody Simon played behind Mack Wilson and not alongside him. I wonder what they're going to do with Cody Simon when Mack Wilson is healthy, when they get into camp. It's obviously going to be predicated upon if they bring somebody in to replace ADG, if they cut ADG, or if they see, you know what, Mack Wilson and Cody Simon are going to be our 1-2 punch for the future. Maybe draft a guy in the 4th round, something like that. It'll be interesting to see what they do. If they see Mack Wilson when he's healthy, you just be like, all right, let's move Cody over. And then now you've got your 1-2 punch. This trust Mack Wilson thing could turn into trust the off-ball backer positions. You'll see tomorrow with the don't trust it. The majority of it is position groups. So I know a lot of this is in the abstract, and I know a lot of this is difficult to see the forest through the trees and it was difficult for me too when I was, writing out what I wanted to talk about today because of how bad the defense was, especially after the bye. But for the body of work with Mack Wilson over the last 2 years, trust him. He was never this good in New England. And I think it's a fit thing where he can be malleable with different position groups on the field. You got 3, 4, 5 safeties on the field at times with the exotic blitz packages where they packaged him mostly with Budda Baker 2 years ago. And it was a little bit different this year, but I think that he's going to be a guy that you want to hang on to for a while. So you trust him. Now with the Cody Simon thing, this is a little honorable mention. Cody Simon didn't world break last year. Cody Simon wasn't this breakout guy where it's like, oh man, I cannot believe the Cardinals got an absolute steal. What did they draft him in the 4th round? 4th round? Yeah, Jordan Birch was the third, fourth round. This was an absolute steal. But there weren't any oh no moments either. And I know that on defense it's tough to quantify because we're not looking at, receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns, rush attempts, rushing yards, touchdowns, fumbles lost, interceptions thrown, sacks given up, things like that. But Cody Simon held his own right away. And he's not the best in coverage, okay? He doesn't have the greatest closing speed yet. I think things like that can be learned through strength and conditioning. Maybe leaning out a little bit while you also don't want to lose all of your strength and muscle mass because you also want to be a hitter like he is too. Like, I think they found something in him. And even if he's not wearing the green dot, if he's standing alongside Mack Wilson, or maybe you've moved Mack Wilson over. He's a little bit older. You can move him to that less conventional role for him, but it is going to be a 1-2 punch regardless. And you give the defense to Cody Simon. What a great thing for the future for the Cardinals. Because then you're looking at Walter Nolan up front, pillar. Will Johnson outside, pillar. Cody Simon in the middle, pillar. And whatever they do with safety. I don't know if Daedrin Taylor-Demerson is going to be the guy. He's still been hurt. But I don't know how much of that was he was hurt and how much of that was we don't want you to further an injury risking because it's getting closer down the stretch in the season. Don't know. But when you look at Mack Wilson and you look at the future of Cody Simon, although abstract with the position that they play, I think that could be his thing that when we talked about the weakest group in 2024, I believe, when they brought Mack Wilson over, the weakest group on the roster was the off-ball backer position, among others. But that was the weakest group. And now it could definitely be a strength with a free agent find by Monty Ossenfort and a fourth-round draft pick who was the defensive player of the game in the national championship game when Ohio State won it. Be kind of fun to watch an organic thing happen for once in a while with the Arizona Cardinals. Trust Josh Sweat. Trust Mack Wilson. Trust Budda Baker. Next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Everyone who experienced the NBA Finals live and in person, well, FanDuel's giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstake. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and think about, what you may want to put some cheese on, think about what team may go on a deep run, things like that, it's perfect time to lock in. I love the futures this time of year. Coach of the year, MVP, NBA championship. It's completely wide open. And now, not only can you pick cash, but can also send you to the final. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. YouTube channel, subscribe, notifications, big dumb face. Trust Budda Baker. This one is sticky a little bit because of the foreshadowing. I read into things too much. I constantly think about this team. So I'm looking at like little things that don't normally happen. Excited for the last home game. Let's get it, Cardinals fans. It was paraphrasing of that. Last home game this year. Was voted to the Pro Bowl. All 31 other NFL teams want him if he were to become available. But it'll be the hardest sell for me. He had statistically the worst year of his career last year. I know. I always give Budda Baker the benefit of the doubt, like I think 100% of the time, probably to a fault, because since he was drafted in 2017, he's had to deal with a lot of bleep, man. 2018, 3-13. 2025, 3-14. He's lost so many more games than he's won since being drafted here. But he's got his third contract with the team. By all accounts, he loves being here. He's the best leader you could ever want from a player. I'm just scared this offseason that somebody's going to offer a trade, like a third-round pick for Budda Baker, and he's going to be gone. I hope that doesn't happen. When I say that I give him the benefit of the doubt, I'm like everybody else. I think you want to give it one more shot and hope that players stay healthy this time. Giving up 19 points per game during the first 5 weeks was not a fluke. And they gave up, like, again, when Indy and Green Bay were at their peak, I think they had lost one game combined when the Cardinals played them both. The defense gave it, 25, 27 points, which isn't like they weren't giving up 40 burgers. Both of those games ended with a touchdown drive by the Colts and the Packers respectively, I believe. So they give 20 points for the majority of the game, both games against teams that were on tears. And then you go into your bye week, and then you give up less than a touchdown to the second best offense in football with the Packers, or with the Cowboys. And I think they scored 13 points, and one of them was a blocked punt return for a touchdown. So he could have had a statistically worse year. The wheels fell off after week 9, like completely. Injuries, and then you just lose it. You just lost it. They just lost it. So you run it back. One last shot. Everybody's healthy. If people get hurt again or they lose a bunch of games that you say goodbye, trust Budda Baker implicitly. I do. Again, I know he had a statistically worse year last year. That was a lot more of everything else that was happening and not him. Yes, he's lost a little bit of a step from when he was an absolute torpedo 2 or 3 years ago. But he's still significantly better than most free safeties in this league, especially for his skill set, especially for how much they play him around the line of scrimmage, especially for how well he and Jalen Thompson and Adrian Taylor-Demerson work together. I think the biggest issue this past offseason for the secondary was when Garrett Williams went down, then they had to pivot to that demon lineup of Adrian Taylor-Demerson, Jalen Thompson in the slot, and Budda Baker. And then you had Max Melton and Will Johnson, and then Max Melton got supplanted by Denzel Burke, but then Will Johnson got hurt. It's like, it's hard when you have a bunch of second and third string DBs, cornerbacks, mostly that you have to, play over the top of. And then, Walter Nolan was out for again, these aren't excuses. These are things that actually happened. But what Budda Baker does in between the lines and outside the lines, and what he's done forever, he is everything you want an Arizona Cardinal to be. I'm not trying to get sentimental with you on a Monday morning, but he's everything you want an Arizona Cardinal to be. He's everything that you want this team to ever stand for, even though their owner tries to, Michael Bidwell tries to make it as difficult as possible for that to happen. When I talk about trust, and we were to do close your eyes, you don't know the question I'm going to ask you, but it's going to be a question about the Arizona Cardinals. You're like, okay, close my eyes. What is the one player on defense? Who is the one player on defense you trust the most? Budda Baker. Without it immediately. Some of it is reflex, because that's what it's been pretty much since 2017. I don't even care when Patrick Peterson was here. He was cheating and requesting trades. Budda Baker was keeping his head down and going to work. Chandler, Jones, maybe. But Budda Baker has been that inherent leader pretty much right away. And again, I'll throw out my prediction. I think he'll end up in Seattle. Went to school at UW. He'll end up in Seattle for maybe the last year or two of his career. If I could put some cheese on FanDuel for where Budda Baker's last team that he'll play on will be, if it's not the Arizona Cardinals, I'd pick Seattle. But for now, the Arizona Cardinals have him under contract. It's team friendly. We'll see. It's also very tradable. So I don't think so. Let's talk about this, because we've got a couple minutes left here. Trust Josh Sweat, trust Mack Wilson, trust Budda Baker. For me, and let's think about it this way, just hypothetically speaking, what's more valuable for the Arizona Cardinals right now, 2026, 2027? Budda Baker or a third or fourth round pick? That could be any position. I still think it's Budda Baker. Bird in the hand times a million when it comes to this. I still think it's Budda Baker. And with that puts a little bit of clarity for me on his importance. And it's not just like, oh, he's important. Yes, he's tapering off a little bit with production, but if you get, you add a couple of pieces in the pass rush room and Walter Miller comes back healthy and, the DBs are healthy, like that's not like, oh, if the Cardinals can get the 4 best people in the draft and they'll all be on defense and you draft them in the first, second, third, and fourth round, then it'll be fine. It's not like this long shot. You just want people to stay predominantly healthy. And you add a pass rusher. Like that's pretty much, then he'll be able to come back to his form like he was in 2024. It's not like we're 6 years removed and we're looking at Uncle Rico status. It's like, I used to be able to, in 82, I used to be able to throw football over that mountain. Like that's not this. So when you look at it, it's like, would you rather trade him and get a 3rd round pick for this year's draft or you roll with him for 2026 and see what happens with this team? I'm much rather taking the latter on top of the fact that this is one of historically just a bad draft class. Budda Baker's importance outside the lines can never be cracked outside of something insane happening. Budda Baker's importance inside the lines playing football still is unquantifiable, especially when you correlate it to what a trade package would be or how many young players could use his guidance who are destined for great things in this league if they continue on the trajectory they're on. Unquantifiable. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I will talk to you for show number 2 this afternoon.